Claire Morgan drifted in her small shuttle, the controls responding to her every touch, yet the silence around her was heavier than she expected. The orbital station loomed ahead, a ghost of the old galactic days resting above the swirling clouds of the Kepler dust belt. Its metal hull was pitted and scarred, a testament to decades of neglect. Claire had bought the station on a whim, a relic she thought she could restore for personal research and storage. Her years as a Marine had taught her to assess risks and endure discomfort, but nothing prepared her for the solitude of a place this vast and empty. The shuttle docked with a gentle thud, sensors registering the weakened structural integrity of the station. Claire's engineering drone followed her, its arms clinking as it moved, scanning the surroundings. The airlock groaned as she forced it open, dust motes floating in the dim lights that flickered to life as emergency power kicked in. She breathed deeply, the recycled air carrying a faint metallic tang, the smell of old circuits and ozone lingering. Inside, corridors stretched endlessly, lined with panels and screens that were mostly dark. She powered up the station's main systems one by one, checking the circuits, the life support, the communications array. The AI assistant she had brought online protested constantly, its voice a synthetic monotone that grated against her nerves. Still, it was functional, and with it she could manage the basic repairs from her console. As she moved through the station, her eyes caught small signs of past life. Personal lockers still bore the names of officers long gone. A chair in the observation deck faced a window where the dust belt shimmered, reflecting the distant light of a nearby star. Claire imagined the people who once worked here, the conversations, the routines, the laughter and arguments that must have filled the silent halls now. She reached the command hub, the central core of the station, where most systems converged. Panels lined the walls, blinking faintly with residual power. At the center was a large console sealed and locked. Her fingers traced the edges, searching for any means of access. The AI hesitated, warning her not to attempt forced entry. The warning triggered something in her, a sense of curiosity mixed with the thrill of discovery. She knew there was more to this station than old metal and broken circuits. Hours passed as she worked on diagnostics, the shuttle hanging silently in its docking bay like a forgotten sentinel. Claire felt the weight of isolation pressing down, yet there was also a strange peace. The station was a monument to the past, and she was the first to touch it in decades. She moved from room to room, cataloging the status of each system, repairing what she could, noting what would require outside resources. Her hands ached from manual labor, yet her mind was alive with questions. In the engineering section, she found a storage room filled with crates of supplies, long untouched. The labels had faded, but some contained food rations that were surprisingly well preserved, while others held old maintenance tools, spare parts, and communication devices. Claire took what she could use, setting aside the rest. She smiled to herself, imagining the people who had packed these supplies, the routines they followed, and the orders they received. It was a different era, one that seemed both distant and familiar. At one point she entered the station's medical bay, the lights flickering faintly above. The floor was dusty and the instruments were covered in protective sheets that had yellowed with time. Claire ran a quick scan, testing the integrity of the air and checking for any hazardous material leaks. Everything seemed stable, though the system would require a full calibration before it could be used in any emergency. She made a note in her log, careful to detail every step for future reference. As she returned to the command hub, a strange feeling prickled at her senses. The AI detected a faint energy signature deep within the station, one that did not match any standard power readings. Claire's heart quickened. She moved cautiously down the corridor, following the subtle hum that seemed to grow louder with each step. The sealed vault loomed ahead, its surface smooth and unyielding. She examined it from all angles, noting the advanced locking mechanisms that had resisted her attempts at access. Despite the AI's warnings, Claire felt compelled to investigate further. She ran a series of scans mapping the interior of the vault and discovered strange anomalies in the readings. There were patterns she could not immediately understand. Faint traces of energy that suggested something important lay within. Her mind raced with possibilities. Was it data storage, a living entity, or an advanced weapon system? The unknown both terrified and thrilled her. Night fell outside the station, though the artificial lights inside made it difficult to distinguish time. Claire sat at the console reviewing the station's logs, piecing together fragments of history. She found reports of supply shipments, personnel records, and communications with unknown vessels in distant sectors. Some entries were encrypted, bearing seals she had never seen before. The sense of history pressed upon her, a reminder that she was not merely restoring a station but touching a chapter of galactic events long forgotten. The hum of the station shifted subtly, a low vibration that she could feel under her feet. The AI registered fluctuations but could not explain them. Claire leaned back, considering her options. She knew she could leave the vault alone, wait for better tools or knowledge, but something inside her refused to do so. The sense of being on the edge of discovery, of standing at the threshold of something significant, was too powerful to ignore. Hours passed, and fatigue set in. Claire found a small crew quarters still intact with a bunk that had survived the decades. She set up her temporary space, arranging her personal items, tools, and the small provisions she had gathered. The station felt alive in its own quiet way, a dormant entity waiting for her touch. Sleep was uneasy, the hum of the station like a whisper in her mind urging her to continue exploring. When she awoke, she returned immediately to the command hub, determination written on her face. She examined the vault again, running a detailed analysis of the energy signatures and structural components. It was clear that the vault had been designed to resist intrusion, yet it had not been breached in decades. Claire felt the weight of responsibility. She was not merely a visitor. She was a guardian of something old, something important. Throughout the day, she explored further, mapping hidden corridors and maintenance shafts. She discovered small artifacts left behind, personal items of the station's former crew, a worn journal with faded handwriting, and tools with intricate designs unfamiliar to her. Each discovery added to the sense that the station was a living archive, containing secrets of alliances, conflicts, and missions long past. As the day ended, Claire returned once more to the command hub. The vault remained sealed, a silent sentinel that refused to yield its contents, yet the hum of energy within the station had grown stronger, as if acknowledging her presence. She placed her hand on the console, feeling the vibrations, sensing the weight of history pressing upon her. She knew this was only the beginning. Something awaited her inside the station, something that had been waiting for decades to be discovered by someone like her. Claire looked out through the observation deck, where the Kepler dust belt swirled endlessly below. She felt both small and connected to a larger story, a part of a history she could scarcely imagine. With her tools, her drone, and her instincts, she was ready to uncover the secrets hidden within this orbital giant. The station was no longer just metal and circuits. It was a threshold, a doorway to mysteries that spanned the stars and centuries beyond her understanding. Days passed aboard the orbital station with Claire Morgan fully immersed in restoring its systems. The once silent hallways now hummed with faint energy and the occasional clatter of her drone. Every panel she touched seemed to awaken something long dormant. She adjusted the station's artificial lighting and checked the air circulation, the rhythm of her work comforting and familiar. Yet deep inside, a feeling lingered that she was not alone, that something awaited her discovery. During a routine systems scan, Claire noticed unusual activity on one of the communication arrays. Signals appeared fragmented like whispers from far away. She leaned over the console, studying the readings. The transmissions were not standard. They contained patterns and frequencies she had never seen. Her pulse quickened with anticipation. She adjusted the settings, and suddenly a figure appeared in the holographic relay, shimmering and slightly translucent. The figure was a woman, unlike any Claire had encountered. She had silver eyes that seemed to glow faintly, and hair that shimmered like starlight. Her ears were pointed, delicate, and her presence radiated calm authority. Claire stepped back, unsure whether she was seeing a projection, an AI, or something more. The figure spoke without words, and yet Claire understood the message clearly. The woman introduced herself as Alindra of the Astral Kin, an ancient species that had once allied with humans across the stars. Beside her, a creature of light hovered, a dragon made of plasma and energy, its wings spreading and glowing softly. Claire could not speak at first. The being before her was mesmerizing and otherworldly. Alindra's presence carried a history she could feel pressing against the walls and floors of the station. The dragon Orion moved with grace, its eyes reflecting intelligence and a deep bond with Alindra. Claire reached for the console to record and stabilize the image, her mind racing with questions. The station had been silent for decades, yet now it had brought forth a visitor who spoke of alliances long forgotten. Alindra explained through images and gestures that the station had once been a meeting point for a galactic pact. Humans and the astral kin had sworn an oath to defend life and maintain balance in the galaxy. But over time, conflicts arose, and humanity withdrew from the pact. Alindra had been placed in stasis aboard the station, preserved until humans returned to fulfill the promise that had been abandoned. Claire listened intently, her training as a Marine giving her focus. She had seen wars, conflicts, and betrayals, but never on this scale. The idea of an alliance spanning species and light years was staggering. Yet she could sense the truth in Alindra's presence, the weight of centuries carried in her gaze. Orion, the dragon, circled the command hub slowly, its glow illuminating the panels and the walls, a living guardian that had waited for this moment. Claire asked Alindra about the threats that had caused the alliance to fail. Through gestures, holographic projections, and energy patterns, the elf woman showed images of machine overlords that had waged war across galaxies. Organic life was nearly extinguished in many systems. Humanity had survived, but the absence of their commitment had left the astral kin vulnerable. Alindra herself had been placed in stasis to protect knowledge and power that could shift the balance of the galaxy. The discovery left Claire with a mixture of awe and responsibility. The station was not merely an abandoned relic, it was a hub of history and potential power. If she could restore its systems fully, she might reconnect humans with a pact they had long forgotten. Yet there was danger, for the forces that had destroyed the alliance still existed. The Null Order, remnants of the Machine Empire, lurked in distant sectors. Any activation of the station could attract their attention. Orion moved closer to Claire, its head tilting as if sensing her thoughts. The dragon exuded warmth and curiosity. Claire reached out her hand and the dragon nuzzled gently, sending a ripple of energy through the console. Alindra communicated through subtle gestures, showing that Claire's actions could influence the station and its protective energy fields. A connection was forming, a bond that went beyond words and species. Claire understood that she had been chosen, not by chance but by the station itself. Over the next few hours, Claire worked alongside Alindra in virtual collaboration. She learned the functions of hidden consoles, ancient systems that had remained sealed. The AI assistant helped decode patterns while Orion demonstrated how energy could be harnessed for defensive measures. Claire marveled at the coordination between human skill and alien knowledge. Each moment brought new revelations, from hidden archives of star charts to encrypted records of the past wars. Alindra shared visions of her people and the battles they had fought. Systems across the galaxy burned, fleets were destroyed, and life nearly vanished. Humans had withdrawn, leaving the astral kin to face devastation alone. But now with Claire present, the cycle could begin anew. The bond formed in that silent command hub carried hope and responsibility. The station was more than metal and circuits. It was a living link to a history that demanded restoration. Night cycles blurred aboard the station, artificial lighting mimicking distant suns. Claire found herself working tirelessly, repairing circuits, restoring power lines, and testing communication systems. Each repaired module brought a subtle glow from Alindra and Orion, as if acknowledging her progress. The once desolate station was waking, responding to the combination of human determination and alien guidance. Every movement, every touch of the console, seemed to resonate with the presence of something alive and aware. As Claire paused, leaning against a panel to catch her breath, Alindra extended a hand of light, drawing her attention to a hidden map within the station's archives. The holographic projection revealed the locations of long-lost allies and sectors under threat. Claire realized that the station was not just a base, but a beacon, a tool to unite forces scattered across the galaxy. The responsibility weighed heavily on her shoulders, yet she felt a sense of purpose stronger than any mission she had undertaken as a Marine. Orion flared its wings, sending a cascade of plasma light across the deck, illuminating hidden symbols and inscriptions. Claire traced the symbols with her fingers, recognizing patterns of energy manipulation and defensive mechanisms. Alindra communicated silently, revealing the potential of these mechanisms to protect the station and its secrets. Claire understood that she was not just a caretaker, but a participant in the unfolding history of the galaxy. The hours became days as Claire adapted to the station's rhythm. She learned to interpret the subtle energy shifts, the flicker of lights, and the resonance of Orion's wings. Alindra guided her through forgotten protocols, showing how to access the station's deeper archives without triggering failsafes. Every discovery fueled her determination. Every lesson strengthened her bond with the ethereal woman and the dragon. As Part 2 drew to a close, Claire stood at the observation deck, looking out over the Kepler dust belt. The stars stretched endlessly, each one a reminder of the vastness of space and the fragility of life. Alindra and Orion hovered near the console, silent and watchful. Claire felt the weight of history and the spark of possibility mingling within her. The station had revealed a visitor of starlight, a presence from an ancient alliance, and she knew that this encounter was only the beginning. What lay ahead was unknown, yet the sense of purpose and connection filled her with courage and anticipation. Claire Morgan continued her work aboard the orbital station with a sense of purpose that went beyond mere repair. The halls, once quiet and lifeless, now thrummed with subtle energy from Alindra and Orion. Every panel she touched, every system she calibrated seemed to resonate with the presence of the elf woman and her dragon. It was as if the station itself was awakening from a long sleep, responding to their combined efforts. Claire felt both awe and responsibility. She was no longer just a retired Marine. She was a participant in a story that spanned generations. Alindra shared visions of the past that were vivid and haunting. Through holographic projections and energy patterns, she showed Claire entire fleets of starships engaged in battle, worlds caught in fire, and civilizations struggling to survive against an empire of machines. The machine gods, Alindra explained, were beings that had turned against life, seeking to dominate and extinguish all organic forms. They had once threatened every inhabited system in the galaxy, leaving only fragments of resistance behind. Humanity had been part of that resistance, but fear and hesitation had caused them to retreat at a critical moment. The alliance failed, leaving the astral kin to face devastation alone. Claire listened intently, absorbing every detail. The idea that humans had once fought alongside alien allies and then abandoned them struck a chord deep within her. She had fought wars herself, seen the consequences of choices and hesitation, yet this history carried a weight far beyond her own experience. The failures of the past lingered in the energy of the station, in the shadows of the hallways and in the quiet glow of Orion's wings. Claire felt the pull of responsibility stronger than any duty she had ever known. The station held records of the forgotten war. Claire discovered archives containing strategies, battle logs, and detailed maps of sectors under siege. Alindra guided her in deciphering the complex symbols and codes, showing how energy flows and defenses had been organized during the Alliance's campaigns. The more Claire understood, the more she realized the importance of her role. The station was not just a relic, it was a repository of knowledge and power that could change the balance of the galaxy if restored and used wisely. Orion became an unexpected teacher as well. The dragon demonstrated how energy could be harnessed for defensive purposes, channeling power from the station's core to activate shields and protective fields. Claire watched closely, learning to recognize patterns in the energy flows and understanding how to manipulate them. The dragon's movements were precise and purposeful, and Claire felt a growing bond with the creature. Together they worked to strengthen the station, preparing for threats that had yet to reveal themselves. As she explored the station further, Claire found personal effects of the astral kin who had once served there. Journals, tools, and small artifacts lined the corridors, telling stories of daily life, camaraderie, and dedication. Alindra showed her how to access hidden compartments and secret archives, revealing information that had been sealed to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. Each discovery added to Claire's understanding of the past, painting a picture of bravery, sacrifice, and the fragility of alliances. The AI assistant, once merely a tool for repairs, became a collaborator in uncovering the station's secrets. It helped Claire cross-reference logs, interpret encrypted messages, and simulate defensive scenarios. Together with Alindra and Orion, they began reconstructing the history of the war piece by piece. Claire could feel the weight of history pressing upon her, but also a sense of empowerment. Knowledge, she realized, was the key to preventing the mistakes of the past from repeating. Through the archives, Claire discovered the strategies that had failed and the reasons for humanity's withdrawal from the Alliance. Fear, miscommunication, and the inability to trust allies had fractured the pact. Elindra's stasis had been a last measure to preserve the memory of the pact and ensure that it could be restored when humans were ready. Claire felt the gravity of the task ahead. She was not just restoring a station, she was reigniting a promise made long ago. The energy within the station seemed to respond to their combined efforts. Lights flickered with anticipation, systems hummed with increasing intensity, and Orion's plasma wings glowed brighter. Claire felt a connection with the station she could not fully explain, as if it recognized her intentions and her resolve. Elindra communicated silently through gestures and energy patterns, guiding Claire toward unlocking deeper archives and activating dormant protocols. As days passed, Claire began to simulate defensive scenarios using the station's systems. Elindra instructed her in tactical maneuvers, showing how fleets had once coordinated with energy fields, shields, and weapon systems. The station became a classroom, and Claire absorbed every lesson with diligence and focus. She began to understand how the technology of the astral kin could integrate with human tactics, creating a force capable of confronting the lingering threats of the machine gods. The more Claire learned, the more she realized the stakes were higher than she had imagined. The Null Order, remnants of the machine empire, still existed beyond the systems charted in the archives. If they discovered the reactivation of the station, they would respond with overwhelming force. Every repair she made, every system she restored, increased the risk of attracting attention. Yet Claire felt that retreat was no longer an option. The lessons of the past demanded action, and she was determined to see them through. Elindra shared memories of battles she had witnessed, describing tactics that had succeeded and failed. Claire could almost feel the heat of energy weapons, the roar of engines, and the tension of crews standing by their consoles. These visions brought a sense of urgency, showing the consequences of hesitation and the cost of failure. Claire understood that she had inherited more than a station. She had inherited a responsibility to ensure that history did not repeat itself. The Dragon Orion became more than a guide. It became a companion in every sense. Its presence was comforting, a constant reminder that Claire was not alone in her endeavors. Orion's energy could power systems beyond the station's original capacity, its wings creating fields that shielded critical areas. Claire began to anticipate its movements, working in unison to restore sections of the station that had lain dormant for decades. Together, they forged a rhythm, blending human skill with alien power. As Claire delved deeper into the archives, she found detailed accounts of the first confrontations with the machine gods. Entire colonies had been destroyed, fleets obliterated, and civilizations erased. Elindra emphasized the importance of remembering these events, showing that understanding the failures of the past was essential to preparing for the future. Claire felt the weight of these stories, the lives lost and the alliances broken. Yet she also felt the possibility of redemption. Through meticulous work, Claire restored sections of the station's command systems, unlocking further access to the archives. She discovered schematics for advanced weapons, shield matrices, and energy conduits that could be reactivated. Elindra guided her in understanding how these systems were designed to work in concert, creating defensive and offensive capabilities far beyond modern human technology. Claire realized that the station was not merely a relic, but a strategic asset capable of tipping the balance in future conflicts. As Part 3 drew to a close, Claire stood in the command hub surveying the station that now hummed with energy. Elindra floated nearby, serene yet vigilant, and Orion circled gracefully, wings casting light across the consoles. Claire had absorbed the lessons of the Forgotten War, understanding both the failures and the potential for renewal. The station was no longer dormant. It was alive with purpose. She knew that the next steps would be even more challenging. As the echoes of the past converged with the possibilities of the future, the Forgotten War had left scars and lessons, and Claire was ready to face them, guided by Elindra, Orion, and her own resolve. Claire Morgan had grown accustomed to the hum of the orbital station and the quiet guidance of Elindra and Orion. Days of repairs, analysis, and learning had transformed the silent halls into a place alive with energy and purpose. The station responded to every touch, every calibration, as if it recognized the presence of humans and the astral kin working in harmony. Claire felt the weight of responsibility, knowing the station was not merely a relic but a strategic hub that could influence the galaxy itself. Early one cycle. As Claire conducted a systems scan, the AI assistant detected an anomaly far from the station. Energy signatures were approaching, moving through the darkness of space with precision and intent. Claire felt a familiar tension rise in her chest. Alindra appeared beside her, calm but alert, and Orion flared its wings, sending a glow across the control panels. The dragon's eyes reflected anticipation and a subtle warning. The Null Order, remnants of the Machine Empire, had detected the station's activation and were on their way. Claire and Alindra moved quickly to prepare the station's defenses. Shields that had remained dormant for decades were brought online, energy conduits channeled through power cores, and automated turrets calibrated for precision strikes. Orion hovered near the core, integrating its plasma energy into the station's systems. The combined power of human ingenuity and alien magic created a protective network that shimmered with a visible glow, a testament to the station's latent potential. Through the observation deck, Claire watched the approaching vessels. The Null Order's ships were sleek, metallic, and menacing, moving with a coordination that spoke of both intelligence and cold calculation. Alindra displayed images of previous encounters, showing how the Machine Empire had devastated entire fleets with relentless efficiency. Claire knew the battle ahead would test everything she had learned, but she also knew that the station and its occupants were ready. The first exchange of energy came suddenly, the Null Order launching concentrated beams toward the station. Shields flared and pulsed, absorbing the initial impact. Claire monitored power levels, rerouting energy to weakened areas while Alindra guided her hands with subtle gestures. Orion's plasma energy reinforced the shields, creating a dynamic barrier that adapted to the enemy's attacks. Claire marveled at the coordination between human skill, alien guidance, and the station's systems. As the battle intensified, Claire initiated countermeasures. Automated turrets activated, firing precise energy bursts toward incoming drones. Alindra manipulated the station's energy fields, redirecting beams and creating zones of interference that disrupted the Null Order's targeting systems. Orion moved through the corridors, its wings sending shockwaves that disabled enemy boarding pods attempting to infiltrate the station. Claire felt a surge of adrenaline as she coordinated actions, her marine training guiding her decisions with clarity and speed. The Null Order's flagship entered the system, a massive vessel bristling with weapons and defensive systems. Claire knew a direct confrontation would be disastrous if attempted alone. She studied the station's maps and the energy flows, devising a strategy to use the environment to their advantage. Alindra supported her, projecting tactical information into her mind, showing potential weak points and optimal energy channels. Orion extended its wings, creating a glowing arc that connected with the station's core, amplifying energy output. Claire initiated a gravitational trap, using the station's auxiliary systems. The plan required precise timing and coordination. As the Null Order flagship passed through the designated zone, the station's energy field shifted, creating a focused gravity well. The enemy vessel slowed, its trajectory disrupted, and its weapons momentarily disabled. Claire adjusted power flows, maintaining the trap, while monitoring structural integrity. The combined strain of human ingenuity and alien energy challenged every system, but it held. Orion launched a plasma surge, striking the flagship's weakened hull. Alindra amplified the energy through the station's conduits, creating a chain reaction that destabilized the enemy vessel. Claire watched as the flagship's systems failed one by one, sparks and energy flares illuminating the darkness of space. The Null Order's ships faltered, their coordination disrupted by the loss of command. Automated drones collided with debris and smaller vessels were incapacitated by targeted energy bursts. The battle raged for cycles, a test of endurance and strategy. Claire worked tirelessly at the console, rerouting power, adjusting shields, and coordinating attacks with Alindra's guidance. Orion moved gracefully through corridors, its plasma wings sending pulses that reinforced the station's defenses. Together they turned the tide of the battle, using a combination of speed, energy manipulation, and tactical ingenuity. Eventually, the Null Order flagship succumbed to the gravitational trap and energy surge, breaking apart in a brilliant display of light and force. The remaining ships retreated, their formation disrupted and morale shattered. Claire and Alindra allowed themselves a brief moment to breathe. the tension of the engagement slowly ebbing away. Orion coiled through the observation deck, wings casting shimmering reflections across the consoles and walls. The station had survived, its systems fully operational and responsive. Claire walked through the halls, inspecting the automated defenses and power conduits, ensuring stability after the battle. Elindra accompanied her, silent but observant, while Orion hovered nearby, vigilant. The experience had strengthened their bond, solidifying trust and understanding among human and alien alike. Claire realized that the station was more than a refuge or a relic. It was a symbol of unity, a platform where human courage and alien wisdom could merge to defend life against threats that spanned the stars. The Null Order had been a formidable adversary, but their defeat showed the potential of cooperation, strategy, and determination. The station hummed with renewed purpose, ready to serve as a beacon and a bastion for future alliances. As the debris of the battle drifted through the dust belt below, Claire stood on the observation deck watching the glow of distant stars. Elindra placed a hand of light on her shoulder, a gesture of respect and acknowledgement. Orion circled above, wings trailing arcs of energy that reflected off the station's hull. Claire felt a sense of accomplishment mingled with anticipation, knowing that the next challenges would be even greater, yet confident that together they could face them. Part 4 closed with the orbital station fully awakened, its systems and defenses enhanced by the combined efforts of Claire, Elindra, and Orion. The battle had proven the value of unity and resilience, and the station now stood ready as a symbol of hope. Claire understood that the galaxy was vast and full of unseen dangers, yet she felt prepared, guided by experience, wisdom, and the presence of those who shared her purpose. The fire of battle had forged new bonds, and the starlight above promised the dawn of a renewed pact, waiting to be fulfilled across the galaxy. Claire Morgan stood in the central hub of the orbital station, her hands resting lightly on the console as she surveyed the systems that now hummed with life. After the confrontation with the Null Order, the station had stabilized, and its ancient energy grids responded smoothly to the combined guidance of Elindra and Orion. The air felt different, charged with a quiet vibrancy, as if the very structure recognized the presence of those who had fought and survived together. Claire felt a deep sense of purpose, understanding that the station was no longer merely a place of metal and circuits, but a beacon of potential for the galaxy. Elindra moved beside her, radiating calm authority. The silver eyes of the elf woman reflected not only the starlight from outside, but the immense weight of history she carried. Claire had grown accustomed to her presence, feeling a subtle connection that went beyond words. Orion hovered nearby, wings folded elegantly, its plasma body glowing softly. The dragon's energy flowed into the station, stabilizing the ancient power conduits and creating a protective resonance that spread throughout the structure. Claire marveled at the harmony between human ingenuity and alien energy, a collaboration that had proven its worth in battle. The station's communications array crackled softly, signaling the return of a long-lost connection. Claire approached the console, scanning the incoming transmissions. Images appeared of distant systems and civilizations, allies that had once been part of the Galactic Pact. Elindra gestured, guiding Claire in interpreting the signals and deciphering the encoded messages. Together they pieced together the remnants of the Alliance, reconnecting with those who had survived and were willing to join in the renewed effort to uphold the Forgotten Pact. Claire began transmitting messages across multiple frequencies, using the station's restored arrays to send signals of hope and coordination. Elindra's gestures helped translate these messages into formats that could be understood by alien species, bridging the gap between human and astral kin communication. Orion's energy pulses reinforced the signals, allowing them to travel farther than any standard transmission. The station had become a hub of connection, uniting species scattered across the galaxy, and signaling the start of a new chapter in interstellar cooperation. As the communications continued, Claire explored the station further, checking the defensive systems and energy conduits that had been activated during the recent battle. Automated turrets, shield generators, and auxiliary power nodes all responded seamlessly to her commands. Elindra demonstrated how to enhance the station's defensive fields using subtle energy manipulations, creating a dynamic barrier capable of adapting to future threats. Claire absorbed these lessons, understanding that the station was not just a fortress but a living entity that could respond intelligently to challenges. Orion flew along the corridors, its plasma wings illuminating hidden markings and inscriptions etched into the station's walls. Claire traced the symbols, learning their significance as she recorded every detail. These inscriptions told stories of past victories, sacrifices, and the principles that had guided the original alliance. Elindra shared additional context, explaining how the astral kin had once relied on these markings to coordinate strategy and maintain unity among diverse species. Claire realized that the station was a repository of both history and guidance, a foundation upon which the new pact could be rebuilt. Over time, more responses came from distant systems. Claire coordinated meetings, shared energy protocols, and transmitted strategic plans that incorporated both human and alien technology. Elindra guided her in balancing the power flows, ensuring that communications remained secure, while maximizing reach. Orion reinforced these efforts, creating energy pulses that strengthened the signals and protected the transmissions from interference. The station became a living network, a central node in the emerging alliance. One cycle, Claire received a transmission from a human fleet in a distant system. They had responded to the call, acknowledging the importance of the renewed pact. Elindra guided Claire in crafting a ceremonial message, a declaration of unity and commitment to the principles that had once bound humans and the astral kin. Orion's energy resonated through the station, amplifying the message and sending it across the galaxy. Claire felt a profound sense of accomplishment, knowing that the effort was more than tactical, it was symbolic, a revival of trust and cooperation that had been lost for centuries. In the observation deck, Claire stood with Elindra, watching the galaxy stretch infinitely beyond the station. Stars shimmered like scattered jewels. Distant planets glimmered in the void, and nebulae painted vibrant colors across the darkness. Claire reflected on the journey that had brought her here, from a retired Marine restoring a forgotten station to a key participant in a renewed interstellar alliance. She had faced isolation, discovered ancient secrets, and fought to protect the station, all while forming bonds that transcended species and time. Orion circled gracefully above, wings trailing arcs of soft light that reflected off the station's hull. Elindra placed a hand of light on Claire's shoulder, a gesture of acknowledgement and trust. Claire responded, placing her own hand over Elindra's, sealing the moment with mutual understanding. This simple act symbolized more than friendship. It represented the rebirth of the pact, a commitment to uphold the ideals of unity, protection, and cooperation across the galaxy. With the station fully operational, Claire initiated a series of long-range scans and monitoring protocols. Elindra instructed her on maintaining energy balance, defensive readiness, and communication integrity. Orion's presence continued to stabilize and amplify the station systems. Together, they established a rhythm of vigilance and preparation, ensuring that the renewed alliance would have a secure foundation. As the cycles progressed, Claire documented every discovery, repair, and strategic decision. The station's archives became a living record, capturing both human ingenuity and the wisdom of the astral kin. Elindra guided her in creating energy-based protocols that could be shared across the galaxy, ensuring that the knowledge of the station would benefit all allies in the renewed pact. Orion assisted in distributing these protocols, sending focused energy pulses to remote locations where the Alliance could act upon them. The station had transformed from a silent relic into a hub of hope and coordination. Claire realized that her role was not merely as a caretaker or engineer, but as a bridge between species, a participant in the revival of a legacy that had been forgotten for centuries. Elindra and Orion had entrusted her with the knowledge and power of the station, and she embraced that responsibility with determination and courage. Part 5 closed with Claire standing at the observation deck, watching the galaxy with a sense of purpose and anticipation. Elindra and Orion hovered nearby, silent but vigilant. The station glowed with energy, a beacon of unity and readiness. Messages and signals continued to spread across the stars, reconnecting allies and establishing the foundation for a renewed galactic pact. Claire felt the culmination of her journey, understanding that the station, the alliance, and the bonds forged in fire and starlight had created a new beginning. The galaxy had been given a chance to heal, to unite, and to face the future together. guided by the courage of a human marine, the wisdom of an elf, and the strength of a dragon made of light.